Few precatory comments, mostly by me. So my name is Phil Weiser. I'm the Dean of the Law School here, the Executive Director of the Silicon Flatiron Center, and a professor. The joy that we professors get on campus is most fundamentally in watching students, community members come together to become creative problem solvers and entrepreneurs. What we are able to celebrate today is entrepreneurship in its broadest and purest form. So 3 participants in this competition in past years included Tabor Ward, a law student who's now running a community sustainable goat farm. That's right. Charisse and her team from Beneath the Ink, I believe, was recently on Shark Tank with her company. And last year's winner ended up in Techstars. So this is an emerging tradition. We are now in the 7th year of this tradition. So it is becoming an institution here on campus. And the arc of the New Venture Challenge parallels the arc of a commitment to entrepreneurship on this campus. The level of activity that's now building its momentum is game-changing and is part of what really is an inflection point for our community. Being in Boulder, Colorado now doesn't require a lot of explanation that we are in one of the premier entrepreneurial ecosystems in the world. There are countries and cities throughout the world that are looking to Boulder, Colorado for inspiration as to how to build a great startup community. One of the reasons this community is so great is the culture here is one where people, you've all heard it before, give before you get, root for each other. And this is really important because when we have any of us succeeding, we all succeed. So this week will be the finale for Merge Lane, led here by Sue Halbrenner, which is the first ever accelerator program for women entrepreneurs. And yeah, let's give it up. Give it up. And while doing that, Sue taught a course which some students will use when they enter into this competition down the road, and it's on the philosophy of entrepreneurship. We also have a number of past executive directors of this New Venture Challenge here. I don't know if Beth Hartman is here or not. Beth was hoping to come. We do have Matt Burns, who's here. We also have Mystery Murphy, who's here. We have Andy Evans back here. And next year, we have Andy Marchant. This is a great tradition. Let's give it up for all of them. This is a community effort. The community support continues to grow. I am going to make an effort to acknowledge at least a number of the key partners. Perkins Coie, one of whose partners is a grad from this school, Dave St. Janarkin, he'll be one of the judges tonight. Zayo Group and Dan Caruso, whose commitment to this community is really exemplary. First Western Trust Bank, I think Nancy's here, so thank you. Marsh Fishman and Breyfogle, I don't know if Danny Sherwinter was able to make it, but another CU Law alum. Softlayer, Lathrop and Gage, Philanthropies. This financial support is complemented by a much broader range of volunteers who've spent time as coaches or mentors. So if I could just ask all the people in the audience who have played a role mentoring any of the involved participants, you raise your hand? Yeah, let's give it up. There also are a large number of campus partners. And again, I said entrepreneurship in the broadest and deepest and truest sense, so let's get a sense here. Now, the Deming Center in the Lead School of Business, Ashley's here, that's like a gimme that they would be involved. This started over a lunch that Brad Bernthal and I had with some folks from the Deming Center. The Tech Transfer Office, again, pretty much obvious. Entrepreneurship Center for Music, not as obvious. Jeff is here somewhere. That's really a core part of what the School of Music is doing. The Interdisciplinary Telecom Program, which is what initially brought myself here. It was a very interdisciplinary project from the beginning. The Department of Computer Science, who's doing great things in their curriculum. The Engineering Management Program from engineering. I know Doug Smith is here also. Over there. Thanks, Doug, for all your leadership. BioFrontiers, which is committed to supporting entrepreneurship. Net Impact, the Atlas Institute, the Center for Education on Social Responsibility, and Silicon Flatirons. Really, this is a wonderful community across campus and others in the community. This is a project that's building. If anyone here wants to be involved and is not already, there are a lot of people you can talk to. Probably no one that will get you more directly involved than Anna Noskesi, who's right here. The amount of work that Anna has put into making all this work is spectacular. She makes it look easy. She pulls it off very well. If you want to talk to people from any of the other organizations as well, please, it's a community effort. We want all of you involved and engaged. So in terms of the order of play tonight, let me give you a few broad concepts, which is we have ongoing activity till 7:30, and at that point we go for reception where we encourage mixing among all the folks here. If you sort of follow all the pitching, we're going to then have an award ceremony and then the reception. There are teams that may not be appearing tonight, but they may have demo tables outside, so I encourage you to talk to them, visit with them. There's also other efforts happening. I should mention one of them is an entrepreneurship in residence program, and here's the idea. We bring entrepreneurs from around the world to come here, spend 20 hours a week on campus helping these teams, and helping things like what Doug Smith is doing with Catalyze, helping things what Zach Neese is working with Rick Hahn in computer science. Again, any of the entrepreneurial efforts on campus, it doesn't have to be starting a company. It's about problem solving in a creative way where you start from first principles. There is so much work on this campus happening. We're trying to get to know more of it. At some point, we'll be able to acknowledge the extent of what's happening and do a better job marketing what's happening here in Cedar Boulder. So that's on the agenda as well. If you want to be more engaged in that effort, again, same sorts of people you can talk to. Obviously, Andy Evans is a good person to be talking to. So without further ado, let me acknowledge Andy Evans, who has done this all with the amazing Brad Bernthal hundreds or thousands of miles away in Chile. And Andy has taken this effort, done a phenomenal job. I want to turn it over to him. And thank you guys all so much for your support.
Thank you, Dean Weiser, Phil. You're always going to be Dean Weiser to me, but anyways. First off, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work all NVC 7 participants have put in, so please give them all a round of applause. To the teams that aren't pitching tonight, I hope this isn't the end of your journey, but simply the beginning. That reminds me, it's never too early to start plugging NVC 8, which kicks off later this fall. In fact, as Phil pointed out, to my right is Andy Marchant, next year's NVC director. Great name, by the way. Please say hi to him later if you get a chance. Alrighty, now for the nitty-gritty. Tonight's rules of engagement are as follows. Each team will give its 5-minute pitch. In order to keep them honest, at the 5-minute mark, Tim to my right will start clapping, then I will start clapping, then you all will start clapping. It's really simple. Following that, the judges will have 5 minutes to ask the teams questions, and boy, I really hope they show up later tonight. Teams are going to be assessed on the quality of their pitch, the quality of their executive summary, which they submitted in advance, their business fundamentals, the quality of their evidence and research, and their overall concept and vision. Now this year we have a record high amount of prize money, with the first place team walking away with $10,000. Second place team is going to take away a cool $5,000, the third place team $3,000, and the two runner-ups $1,000 apiece. And if you did the math correctly, that means all 5 teams are walking away with money tonight. And now, overseeing tonight's competition, it's my pleasure to introduce your judges for the evening. Representing the Unreasonable Institute, he's our unreasonable man on tonight's panel, Teju Ravilachan. Next, representing Perkins Coie, CU Law alum and famed percussionist, cover up the body, but watch out for the headshots, David St. John Larkin. Representing the Zayo Group and supporting your telecom needs, Stephanie Copeland. And last but certainly not least, representing Rally Software, easily our most agile member of tonight's panel, Chief Judge Tim Miller. All right, and now for tonight's competitors. In the yellow corner, skilled in the ancient art of cognitive psychology. No, that doesn't mean they can read your mind. Tenor. In the green corner, and recently returning from Central America where they worked on their business idea, Antigua Brewing Company. In the teal corner, representing hummingbirds from all over the world, Revelar. In the red corner, keeping you awake when you need it most, New Brew Coffee. And finally, in the blue corner, training out of the famed engineering department camp, Blue Star Medical Devices. All right, teams, good luck tonight. Okay. All right, now that we're all pumped up, introducing tonight's first pitch is Keith Mountain.
Thank you, Andy. I'm here to talk about tenor. I was introduced to Charles and to Christina last fall at Spark. They were giving their presentations, and Charles' particular presentation was on something that was near and dear to me. Sorry, can you hear me okay? And that was this idea of stress relief in organizations that were going through massive change. But he talked about it in a different way. He talked about it as an individual stress relief product. And that wasn't nearly as interesting to me as the fact that he was talking basically about stress relief, how to make better decisions, and how to get along with others. And as he talked about that, I also looked back to how much money, time, and effort I'd spent in my career buying products that claimed to do the same thing, and at the end of the day ended up with a nice warm fuzzy feeling that said, yeah, I was trying hard, but the fact was there was no productivity as a result. But Charles talked about something different, something new to me. Engagement of not only the analytical part of your mind, but also the emotional part, the gut feel. So Charles and I spent a long time talking about these things, but as we went through this last 3 months or so. But what I heard from him was new enough so that it really meant something to me. I felt if you could really do something like this, it would change the way productivity was viewed in large organizations and small, not only for individuals. So it was exciting. I started to think about not only what new things he was talking about, but also about the old things, the things that say how much management time, executive time, individual time in corporations and organizations is spent trying to resolve conflict. Maybe just as important, how to recover from bad decisions and how to deal with this problem of people just talking together and trying to merge themselves into teams. It was just a tremendous idea if he could solve that problem. Spin ahead till now, spin ahead several months, working with the team, Christina, Charles, and Blake. It's been a great thing for me to do that. It's just been really encouraging. And as I see the metrics come out of this project, it's really exciting because this may not be the tool for productivity of the century, but it really is going to make a huge leap forward. It's going to be able to help individuals and organizations deal with the stresses of time to market and ROI. So with that, I hope you'll join me in my enthusiasm for Team Tenor, Charles and Christina.
Hi, my name is Charles Jones. I'm a cognitive scientist. I'm here to tell you about a revolutionary approach to improving productivity in corporations. How much time do your employees spend stewing in negative emotions? What impact is this having on their level of engagement and productivity? And how many of them act out in ways that damage their careers and your leadership pipeline? Business leaders are concerned about this, and the question is, what's at the root cause? What's the root cause of employee disengagement and derailment? And the conventional wisdom holds that negative emotions are to blame, and we do well to get rid of them. But what if this assumption is false? What if the true cause isn't our negative emotions per se, but a widespread tendency to misinterpret what our emotions are telling us? My research, now being validated here at CU, holds that emotions are not assessments about what's happening out there in the world, but rather they're evaluations of whether we are or are not on track to fulfill a psychological need. And that clear thinking comes not from ridding ourselves of negative emotions, but from becoming exquisitely attuned to their appearance and addressing the underlying needs. Andy Grove credits his intimate relationship with anxiety for keeping Intel focused on mitigating the competitive risks of competing in the highly disruptive semiconductor industry. And Mahatma Gandhi, an icon of nonviolence, describes himself as an intensely angry man who cultivated his anger to keep him focused on asserting the right of self-determination for the Indian people. This new understanding of emotion is a game changer. It has profound implications for personal effectiveness, leadership development, and behavioral health. I've taken this understanding and distilled it into a 5-step methodology called the Tenor method, which my colleagues and I have validated with over 1,000 employees and corporations. And January 3rd, we released our first product, which is a half-day training program. And the reviews are great. Participants just love it. They just have 2 concerns. What if I need to think clearly and I don't have the materials with me? Or what if I don't even realize that I'm not thinking clearly? And to this, we hope to soon be able to say, there's an app for that. And here's how it works. So imagine that you are looking at a project timeline and you realize that one of your coworkers did not deliver something on time. What to do? Well, as you're sitting there about to stew in it, the app, working in conjunction with your wearable, alerts you to the fact you're not thinking clearly and walks you through the 5 steps of the Tenor process. Step 1, scan your body for tension, release that tension to get in touch with the emotions that you've been suppressing. Step 2, feel into the emotions. 3, articulate the underlying needs. 4, generate an option. And 5, do what we call a gut check. Check in with your subconscious. Does it think this is a good idea? And if the answer is no, the app helps you revise the idea and then put it into motion. Within minutes, you are back on track. Had you not had the app, odds are you'd be stewing at your desk or worse. Our business consists of distributing the training program and the app through corporate trainers who deliver it to their employees. We make money certifying the trainers. We make money licensing the materials for the app. And then finally, we charge subscriptions for the app as well as the materials. So based on what our competitors are already doing, we believe we can generate about $13,000 per trainer. And with very modest ramp up in the number of trainers that we have, we'll be generating $1 million in revenue within 3 years. If we can execute as well as our closest competitor, who has 7,500 certified trainers already, we'll have a business worth $250 million. We have traction, we have revenue, we have a dedicated team, and we have awesome mentors. We're now looking for additional clients to work with and investment capital. Thank you for your attention.
Charles, great presentation. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. This is a wonderful idea. I'm very excited to see the application of emotional intelligence to an app. I think it's very exciting. My question is about behavior change and the lastingness of your intervention, basically. I imagine that a lot of people try to deal with anxiety right now through interventions that require a lot of time and attention from other people. For example, by seeking therapy or through developing a practice of meditation or something like that. Can an app go far enough, can a 4-hour corporate training go far enough in producing a lasting behavior change that really allows people to rid themselves of anxiety?
Absolutely. This methodology, first of all, this methodology is based on a fundamentally new theory about what emotions are. And in the training program, participants actually apply this methodology to 3 workplace instances where they're struggling with frustration, anxiety, and a third emotion of their choice. And within 5 to 7 minutes, every participant works through their anxiety and makes a breakthrough, understanding what risk is their subconscious is alerting them to, and comes up with a way to mitigate. So it's very lasting behavior change.
Do you measure that over time, or do you have some way of knowing over time that people are experiencing less anxiety?
We have anecdotal evidence at the moment. With the app would give us a very good way to gauge that, because if you have a wearable that can measure heart rate variability, we can actually know on a moment-by-moment basis whether people are misinterpreting their emotions or interpreting them correctly.
So, Charles, one of the things, actually, I have to compliment you as well. Showing Andy Grove and Mahatma Gandhi in one slide, it's probably the first time I've ever seen that, but...
2 of my heroes.
Terrific. I was trying to understand just the 5-step process, and I think that's the kind of the idea behind the name Tenor. Is that correct?
It's an acronym. Tension, emotions, needs, options, resolution.
So one thing that I've just in reviewing your materials, I think that there's a lot of consumer education that you'll need to have in order kind of to at least people that have undergone the program will probably understand that acronym very well. But I would think that there's going to be a lot more difficulty in at least kind of expressing the name through or the idea behind the program through the name. So I do think that it's interesting that you've used Think Clearly, and that does get you kind of steered in the right direction. But I do see that as one challenge, at least in educating the public.
I don't know, to be honest. So our sales so far, we've had 2 kinds of sales. One is we've trained independent consultants who are kind of systems integrators, and they provide, say, a year-long leadership development program for the high potentials, and they stick this in where they used to put emotional intelligence. Okay? So that's an example. Another example is I was coaching the CEO of a company, 142 employees. He was just blown away. He asked me, can I share the materials with my direct reports? I said, yes. 3 weeks later, I get a call. He said, we're agreed. We want to train the entire company in this.
I also just want to applaud you. It's absolutely something that we don't focus on enough in the corporate environment, how much emotion plays into productivity. So I wish I'd had that today, just as an aside, a couple times.
And in fact, I'm even offering a $100 per person discount if anyone wants to see me afterwards. I have a little flyer and a coupon.
But one of the things that troubles me, just reading through, is your acquisition method. So the numbers that you put up look to be at scale. And it feels to me like your trainer, the most important cog in the wheel is recruiting trainers that can then espouse and disciple the products. What type of acquisition strategy, and what's your thought of how you're going to go to market, how you're going to acquire these, anything beyond your personal contacts?
Sure. So for the last 14 years, my day job has been OD consultant in corporations, and I have a good Rolodex of independent trainers that I can go to, as well as a number of corporate buyers and corporations. So that's our sort of out of the gate. We are writing a book. Christina's editing it, and there's one of the models. Our closest competitor is a company called Vital Smarts. They have something called Crucial Conversations, and you write a book, go on a speaking tour, and begin to generate interest in that way. The home run, which we can't guarantee, but we're working on, is an HBR article, Harvard Business Review article.
You answered one of my questions with the book. Hope that's going well. I think that's critical. I have to tell you, I have a warm spot in my heart for this business. We have a very similar business, and we have about a $10 million business in this area with two companies like yourselves, and I love these companies. They're very simple, and it's really a matter of you building the network and finding trainers. One of the things that we always look about it is what's in it for your channel, what's in it for the trainer. So what have you put together for a model on how much as a trainer focusing on this type of work can someone make in a year?
I think most of our trainers, we expect most of our trainers to be internal corporate trainers. They're employees of the corporation that they work for. So they don't need any money from us kind of thing. In fact, one of the ways I sort of stumbled across this business model as I was making a call to a corporate buyer, and she said, oh, well, we already use Crucial Conversations, and I'm a certified trainer. And, this sense of pride and doorkeeping. One of the challenges that a lot of these trainers have is credibility, and really speaking. And this delivers results like nothing anyone has ever seen. So they're proud to be involved in this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
All right, and introducing our next pitch for the evening, Daniel Zasik.
So, as mentors, we get a lot of advice. Three of the things we say is, if you're going to start up a startup, do something you're passionate about, solve your own problem, and do something that makes the world a better place. As an entrepreneur, you're really lucky if you find something where you can do all of those three at the same time. Nick is just such an entrepreneur, and I'm very excited to introduce the Antigua Brewing Company.
How you guys doing? Ben Franklin said that beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. My name is Nick, and we're the Antigua Brewing Company, supplying craft beer and clean water to Guatemala. Antigua, Guatemala is a beautiful colonial town nestled between three stunning volcanoes in Central America. I lived in Antigua for 3 years and in Guatemala for 5 years as a member of the Peace Corps. I love Guatemala, and I can't wait to move back. But the beer in Guatemala is awful. In a desperate attempt to try and make it better, Guatemalans mix their beer with salt, lime, and an array of disgusting sauces. Clearly, it's not craft beer. But an even bigger problem than bad beer is that the water in Guatemala is unsafe. Even someone like me with access to bottled water and good health care, I still spent 9 months in and out of the hospital with a series of waterborne illnesses, like rotavirus, Helicobacter, and tropical sprue. As sad as my story was, Guatemalan kids, most of them under the age of 1, are dying every day because of these illnesses. And water treatment plants that exist in the country are just not working. None of them. Current solutions are unproven and expensive, and they don't even work because they only deal with the water that people drink, not the water that people use for bathing and cooking. So the Antigua Brewing Company is currently building 2 structures, a water purification plant and a brewery. The purification plant is going to pull water from a nearby river and supply both the brewery and the people in town with clean water. We're going to use Agua Inc.'s purification technology. Agua is a Boulder-based, unreasonable company that has had impressive success building water treatment plants around the world. Their technology is low cost to maintain and energy efficient, allowing us to provide the water to the municipality free or at a minimal cost. Most importantly, the water that leaves the plant meets or exceeds WHO standards for clean drinking water. Breweries use a lot of water, and the quality of that water directly impacts the quality of the beer. So, our model allows us to actively control that quality. And we can leverage our competitive advantage in both beer and water quality to have both our social impact and strong profits. We'll be capitalizing on the fastest growing market in the region, extracting margins of 65% and capturing 20% of the $500 million addressable market. But look, we're not a tech startup, so we're not going to have that kind of rocketed growth. But let's not forget that the biggest industries in Colorado are in telecommunications, oil and gas, and you got it, beer. These are all capital-intensive businesses that have had impressive financial returns and have hired hundreds of thousands of people. That is the kind of transformational effect that we can have on Guatemala. So after working on this project for 6 months, we have a lot to show for it. We've already met with 20 local pubs and bars, signed letters of local intents. That was in January. They're very excited about selling our products. And we signed an MOU with a local mayor, Miguel Barahona. Miguel is one of the most popular and longest sitting mayors in the country. The agreement that we signed outlines exactly how we're going to work together to build both the water treatment plant and the municipal distribution network. We've also developed 10 product concepts that have tested extremely well through prototyping locally in Guatemala. And we signed on with an excellent law firm, an international law firm, that has worked with big international players like P&G and PepsiCo. But obviously, when you invest in Antigua Brewing Company, you invest in us. My co-founder and I met while serving the Peace Corps. Fife is a CPA with 8 years of experience in the industry, and he currently owns an upscale bar in Atlanta, Georgia. He also started his own entrepreneurial venture in Guatemala, providing tax assistance to big corporations. Our team also includes brewers and owners from Sierra Nevada, Upslope, Finkel and Garf, and an awesome international brewery called Pastor Street Brewing in Vietnam. But listen, as excited as we are about providing delicious craft beer to Guatemala and clean water to tens of thousands of people, that is not where we're going to stop. We believe we've developed a model that will be replicated throughout the country and throughout the world. So I'm Nick. We're the Antigua Brewing Company, craft beer and clean water for everyone. Thank you.
So, Nick, thank you very much. That's a great presentation. One of the things I picked up on, and I heard it in the presentation as well, is that craft beer, it uses a lot of water in order to brew, and it sounds like you have a natural tension in this area with poor water quality. And it sounds as well like there are a couple of larger distributors in the area. Are they also manufacturing locally, or have they resolved that tension? And as
You
far
mean
as,
distributors or producers?
well, producers, I should say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your question about water?
Yeah. So
What are they
I'm
doing
curious
for water?
about, you're wanting to mass produce, clean water, but at the same time you're also starting up a kind of a high consumption process with using that water. Does that present any challenges for your company, and does it leave much behind for the people?
Absolutely. So about 98% of the water that we're going to produce is going to go to the people in the town where we are locating. We're going to be using a lot of Colorado-based technology. New Belgium is kind of who we look to, and we're actually going to have a meeting with them soon to kind of, they're on the cutting edge of water technology, water conservation. So we're going to make sure that we're using all of the most up-to-date technology we can. With regard to the other producers, they actually own almost all the water that's produced in the country. That's potable water. And so it is kind of a model that they've used. The only issue is they don't have the social impact because they're making quite a lot of money off the water, whereas we believe our margins are high enough that we can provide the water basically at cost to the municipality. Okay. Thank you for the question.
So my question is, we don't have any samples here, so I'm not sure how I can judge
I don't
the
know if
quality.
the university would have let me do that.
with that. I'm not sure we just don't ask those
We'll
things.
talk later.
Okay. But in all seriousness, so this is probably a very naive question for someone that spent so much time in Guatemala, and I've spent a lot of time abroad, but never in Central or South America. But it feels like the investment threshold of close to $2 million is a steep barrier to entry, and protection around that investment feels like you need it highly. How comfortable are you in the operating environment, both politically and from a rights standpoint, that would allow you to extract the margins and the return that you're expecting?
So I was a municipal development volunteer, a consultant for the Peace Corps during my 2 years in volunteer and 3 years as a staff member with Peace Corps. And so I believe that comfort really comes from a strong relationship with the local government. And if you maintain that, if you strengthen that every way you can, I think that's where you can feel most comfortable that your investment is going to be well protected. I will say, with regard to water rights, the municipality owns all the water rights in this town where we're locating, Pastores. And so our close relationship with the mayor there will allow us to basically use that water. Yeah, but politically, that's where the strength comes from.
So we were just down in Patagonia last week, and I think every day we were in either the main brew pub called Kunstmann's or an affiliate or a place that advertised it, and they own the market in this little town in Valdivia. So I can see an opportunity where you can get in, get a brand, and you become the de facto beer for everybody in town. I see that really, really easily and clearly. Having said that, when we were down there, we saw bribery, we saw the ATM machines vending counterfeit money, which I thought was a new, interesting idea.
It's a great business idea. Should have pitched that one.
And maybe they were private ATMs. But what do you know about corruption and bribes, and what's been your experience there, especially in a country that's so impoverished?
I've seen it firsthand. The mayor who actually, of the town that I worked in as a Peace Corps volunteer and inspired me to come to business school, he was just the perfect mayor, and he still took bribes.
Yeah.
So I've seen it firsthand. I will say that's one of the ulterior benefits to having a social impact mission to this business, is that whenever bribes come into the conversation, we can bring up the fact that, hey, look, you're really taking money away from the people that we're helping. And so that's a part of what we're going for here, to protect ourselves, at least marginally. And I will also say that the lawyers that we're working with are really comfortable working with big international players who obviously don't want to be paying bribes either. So we're really depending on them to strengthen us in that area. Thank you. Bribe defending, protection, I should say. Thank you.
All right.
Wonderful presentation.
Final question. Go ahead.
Final question. Can I make it 2 questions?
Please.
One question.
I'm a lawyer.
One sentence, 2 questions. So the first question, both questions are actually quite naive. I don't know much about beer or Guatemala. The first question is about taste and how that's subjective culturally. I mean, my family's from India, and what counts as good beer there, according to my friends, is terrible. And so I'm just curious, number one, how do you actually know that people don't like beer in Guatemala, the beer that they currently have available, and that the alternatives that you're providing are what they would actually want to consume? Number 2, if this opportunity is so obvious, if you prove that it is profitable, is it then something you're making possible for Coors or other great competitors to step into Guatemala, enter that market, and capture it from you?
Great questions. So the first question was whether or not, can you repeat that one more time?
Just about how do you know that Guatemalans don't like
Okay, the taste. So I think this really dawned on me with the michelada example, which was the lime and salt, and people are seeking that kind of craft. I made this myself, or I know a lot about this, and that is something that they're just seeking through that michelada. And people love micheladas, but at the same time, I think there's something kind of at the root of that, and we've proven that through our prototyping. Our prototyping, we've sold everything that we made, and we sold it very, very quickly. So I think that is where I get some solace on our demand. We're also doing some demand modeling to prove that out for investors further. And then your second question was, how do we protect, what are the barriers to entry to other industries coming in? So frankly, I would encourage a competitor because I think the craft beer movement here has really shown that, it's collaborative, and, even Coors is making Blue Moon, which is a pseudo craft beer, which is making people more and more interested in drinking craft beer. So I think that it has potential to be a win-win. Having said that, InBev is definitely in the country. InBev is importing craft beer, and so those are our competitors. Having said that, it is so very early in the maturation process that we're not as concerned about that. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, and introducing our next team is Jane Miller.
Hey everybody, I'm Jane Miller. I am a longtime food industry CEO, a recent author of a book. I'm instructing a class at the Leeds School, and I'm kind of a serial mentor for young women and young entrepreneurs. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. I had a chance to meet Jackie Rose for the very first time at Denver Startup Week, and she was so very brave to raise her hand and ask some questions and come up in a crowd of about 400 women to say that she really wanted to meet me and to talk to me and to get some advice. And so she had two things at the time. This was back in September. She had a mission, and her mission was to revolutionize personal safety. And she had a product concept idea, and that was it. So a mission and an idea and nothing else. And so our first meeting was at the zoo, which is my favorite place to have meetings. If you've never had a meeting at the zoo, you should go. There was a baby bongo born yesterday, so it's really a great place to kind of get, it's instead of being like in a corporate boardroom, if you're meeting at the zoo, somebody really like tells you from their bottom of their heart what's going on. And as Jackie told me her story, what I realized was that what she was doing with Revelar was really going to help change the world. And I do a lot of work, as I said, with entrepreneurs, and so I see a lot of passion. And I see a lot of tenacity, and I see a lot of people that are willing to ask for help. But what I don't see every day is people that are changing the world. And so what I really love about Jackie and what she's going to talk to you about is something that is going to change many of our lives, because I think personal safety is something as a woman that I know that I've been concerned about, and I'm concerned about as my mother gets older. And what's so different for Jackie versus when I met her about 8 months ago is now she has a business plan. Now she has a differentiated product concept. Now she has an amazing team. And now she has some really well-known impact investors behind her. So I'd just like to say, as you listen to Revelar, this is the future of something that's going to revolutionize personal safety, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. So let me introduce Jackie and Megan.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Rose, and I'm the CEO and founder of Revelar. I started Revelar almost 2.5 years ago because my little sister was attacked twice before the age of 17. What her tragedy taught me is that we can and should be doing more to protect our loved ones. And at Revelar, we are doing just that. We have patented and developed a tiny wearable device the size of a quarter that clips and hides under clothing. When in danger or at risk, you press a hidden button. This activates our smartphone app and sends an alert message with the location information to your preset emergency contact list in under a minute. That means in under a minute, you know where your loved one is and you can send for help. We have put an incredible team in place to get this product to market. For example, Doug Bartlett has worked for consumer electronics startups before and is a specialist in Bluetooth technology, in particular the type of Bluetooth technology we need to utilize. Furthermore, we have an incredible board of advisors to take us on this journey. As you can see here, there's a clear market need for our product, but nothing tells us this more than our Kickstarter campaign. In 3 weeks, we've raised over $63,000 and have sold over 1,000 products. That shows need, especially with a bootstrap PR budget. As you can see here, we have clearly created a differentiated product. It not only works on your keychain, but it clips under clothing in an easy fashion. That keychain is for just in case you're forgetful and can't remember to put it on every single day. Some of our other product features include the fact that it's fully interchangeable. This means that you can change out into different colors so that you can always make sure it's hidden. This hidden aspect is crucial. It makes it not only gender neutral, because yes, 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted, but so are 1 in 10 men, but it also helps you to de-escalate a potentially violent situation. And it's not a 24/7 tracker. It only tracks you when and if you've pressed that button for help, which is why our battery lasts for about a year. We have huge market potential. In the US alone, there's 80 million women with smartphone units, and when we go abroad, our revenue potential increases by 814%. We have identified 6 potential North American markets, but we're starting in the college market. Why? Because this is where people need our help the most and where most of the sexual assault is happening. This is when they're finding their independence, and we want to help them do it in a safer, smarter fashion. We're focusing on direct-to-consumer with a 24/7 monitoring optional subscription service to start, but next is licensing. We want to be able to get this into jewelry. We want to put this into athletic gear so that it becomes more accessible for the masses. Furthermore, this is our conservative e-commerce revenue model. In the first 6 months, we're going to sell 10,000 units, and we know this because in our Kickstarter, we've already sold 1,000 in 3 weeks. But great news, Brookstone called, and they want our product, and they are pumped. This means that we're going to be able to set up distribution and sell about 150,000 units in about a year with their help. And here's our competitive analysis. You'll notice that Revelar is the only clear competitor with IP. We not only have done a patent search before filing our IP here, we did the same abroad to make sure that we have that protection universally. As you can also see with our competitors, they focus on the niche female market. But we want to help anybody who feels vulnerable, and abroad, that is a gender-neutral term. We are a social enterprise company. We're talking to consultants who specialize in how to make our product the most sustainable way possibly. And right now in our Kickstarter, you can back a woman in need and donate to an anonymous woman at a domestic violence shelter in Colorado. By the way, we also manufacture here because we are proud to be from Colorado, and this allows for quality control, which means that each and every single device will be tested before it goes in your hands. So please, go to our Kickstarter today, reserve your device, and help get this product out on the market. Thank you.
So first of all, as a female, I cannot applaud this type of device more. And as a mother of a 14-year-old daughter who's getting ready to walk from East High School back and forth alone, also really, really excited about this type of technology. The question, however, that hits me obviously is getting my 14-year-old, getting myself to remember to wear something and bring it with me all the time is impossible. So given Fitbits and other wearables more universal adoption and the fact that it's easily incorporated with an additional feature, what would stop that from taking over this device, often like GPS devices have kind of gone to the wayside?
There's several engineering pitfalls that would be very difficult for like a Fitbit. Ours, like we said, it will work because our battery life is there. The battery lasts for a year. With the other ones, they're rechargeable. And so that means that it may not always be there. Our competitors are all rechargeable, and it's about every 7 days. And I don't think anything would be more heartbreaking in personal safety than you pressing that button and your battery being too low for it to function. Furthermore, that's why we made the keychain loop, because our CEO thinks a lot like you. And she said, I would have a hard time remembering to put this on every day. And so we've done 2 things. One, we've created the keychain loop, but also there's an alarm setting on the app where it can remind you in the morning to put it on and at night to take it off so it doesn't accidentally go in the washing machine. Thank you. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to order 2, but not for myself, for my 2 daughters. I think this is terrific. The one question I have is, I understand the social mission, and I think that's really important. But you also talked about manufacturing here locally in the U.S. I'm wondering how you would think about expanding your social mission if you could grow faster and more profitably by manufacturing offshore.
The question of manufacturing is that our first run is going to be here. It's one of these processes that, as many of you know, takes time to perfect. And we want to perfect that process before we can take it somewhere else and lower that cost. But the best part about creating that partnership with the manufacturer in Colorado is that for our next iteration of our technology, that relationship is there. We already know how to do it, and we can work with them again to perfect that process. But with this first run, it's personal safety, and it has to work every single time, which is why each and every single one of those first devices will be tested. Because again, personal safety is about trust, and we have to earn that trust and demonstrate that we earned that trust.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie, wonderful presentation. This is
Thank
such
you.
an important device. I'm really excited to see Revelar gaining momentum. My question is about that trust, and specifically how you prove to customers who are about to buy the product that they can indeed trust that when they push that button, something is going to happen that will ensure their safety. So I imagine that customers who are considering the product will have questions ranging from, what is the response time of the people who are going to be notified? What will they be able to do that specifically deters a potential attacker or some kind of threat? How do you know that, that the right actions take place, the people who receive the messages do the right things to make sure that attackers are deterred?
There's absolutely going to be consumer education on both sides. For the wearer, how do you use this? How do you remember to put this on every day? How do you incorporate this into your life? And for those receiving it, my little sister's actually in the audience, and the first time we tested that prototype, I didn't warn her. And I had a call 3 seconds later panicking, like, what is going on? What is this emergency alert? Where are you? What is this address? And it was good news because it was working. But we plan on doing beta testing here with a local university. We're in conversations with several of them to be able to have that data to prove that it works. But when they receive that emergency alert, actually even before, when they're elected to be the emergency alert contact, they're going to have steps that clearly outline what they should be doing. Step 1, try to call your loved one. And this comes again with the emergency alert, because it could accidentally be a false alarm, and they might have been about to put in their password and you didn't see it. Step 2, call the police here. And this here link will be to the local police of where the device went off. Because, for example, my mom in Miami would not be able to just call 911. She has to call the right 911. And so we give them that direct link. And then we remind them, if this is a private residence, do not enter. You know, do things like honk the horn outside the home, or do things to get somebody out of that situation. But we really want to make sure they do not put themselves in harm's way. Because the first time my sister was attacked, I always said, I was like, if she had pressed this button, I would have been over there. It was less than 2 miles from our house. I would have saved the day. And I realized what a ridiculous remark that was coming from a 5'4" person, because I would not have been able to do much other than honk that horn and call the police. But I believe that, if nothing else, we're starting conversations. And if you imagine this in a college setting and how their friends groups can teach themselves how to use this, your intuition and your instincts, if you can learn to recognize when you're uncomfortable in one of these situations, college kids can use this to get out of it before anything even happens. And that, I think, is really powerful, is that ability to start these conversations with loved ones.
Yeah, also a great presentation. I had kind of 2 more like technology side questions. So it occurred to me that you're kind of iterating over the campus-wide networks, you know, where you see those phones that you know pop up all over campus, where you know, in the emergency, you know, hold up the phone and talk to someone. And so, you know, I applaud this effort because I think it, you know, it's more immediate. But I guess it occurs to me as well is that one of the things that I think those phones do is it allows people to listen to, you know, someone is going to be on the other end, but listening, at least, you know, hearing what's going on.
Absolutely.
Have you guys thought of plans for maybe adding that sort of
Yes.
idea? Okay.
Audio recording is actually one of the features. Well, I just didn't have the opportunity in this 5 minutes, but it's going to be an optional feature. They can turn it on or they can turn it off, because in the future we're also going to be offering a loud device. And in the 3 different focus groups we've done, it has been split. Half of them want the loud device and half of them want audio recording to have that proof. And so it really depends. And again, that's also where that 24/7 optional service. My background is in teaching, and I knew a lot of my friends would never be able to afford a monthly service. But luckily, our technology can work for either group.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. And also just on those blue poles, they're getting rid of them in a lot of universities because they have been found to be very ineffective and have only about 3 real calls per year.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone pick one up, but
Hard to find.
maybe we can talk to somebody some night. But
And
thank
is there
you.
time for one more question, or are we done? We're done, okay.
Thank you.
See, hummingbirds. Now you guys get my intro on them. You're a smart audience. I like you guys. All right, introducing our next team. Kyle Mazzanti.
Okay, we'll see how this 18-point font works. So it's a pleasure to be able to introduce a great company and a wonderful opportunity, New Brew Coffee. And Stephanie, before I get started, I did want to point out there are samples on the table, and just knock yourself out. I know I have. I first met Nick Romsevich at the NVC speed dating night, and that's kind of where the teams pitch to the possible mentors to find points of connection. So when the topic of coffee came up, he had my attention. I am a coffee snob. I am that guy that would rather have one cup of coffee and it's not there and it's not good. I'll take a pass. I'm not interested. So when he told me about the process that they incorporate and the flavors and whatnot, and then I sampled it, I was all in. And that brought us to this evening. There's so many dimensions that really impressed me about New Brew and the team. And for that reason, I really decided to kind of go old school on all of us. Marketing 101, the 5 Ps, you've all heard them. I got my own list here. It's people, product, promotions, public, and profit. So let's start with the people for just a minute. Nick and his partner, Brendan, they have 5 degrees, 2 MBAs in that, and 20 years of experience in engineering, design, finance, operations, and entrepreneurial startups between them. So they're classic underachievers. And, but more importantly, to me, and the point of connection, again, in addition to the coffee, was that they're very humble in spirit. And they're always willing to seek wise counsel. And they have touched many people in this room with their questions and their intent. And for that, that's a winning formula in my book. The product, I sampled the 3 great flavors. I took them to family and friends. We found that there was all the good and none of the bad. And you're going to hear more about the process, so I don't want to get too much into that. But they already have distribution in place. That's not just for show. We already have product in Whole Foods, Vitamin Cottage, Lucky's, just to name a few. So if you were thirsting for the product on the front range, you're not going to have trouble finding it. And there's a process or there's a plan in place to go much bigger than that. The promotion, you're not going to believe this. And the Oscar goes to New Brew. Are you kidding? They got that product in the gift bags at the Oscars. I mean, who does that? And it got the attention of some notable people like Fox and ABC, the Denver Business Journal, and our own Daily Camera. So good job on creating some momentum and some traction. Public. New Brew is a company with a conscience, and I can say that clearly because New Brew is a Colorado Public Benefit Corporation, and most of you are aware that the PBCs have to produce 1 or more public benefits while operating in a responsible and a sustainable fashion. And this trust is held in the Articles of Incorporation with the New Brew Company. So I'm very proud to be associated with that. And finally, the profit. You've often heard that, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. New Brew is all about being fiscally responsible while working toward measured growth. And with the help of my good friend David Vergaz, Blackwood Financial, we met with Nick several times for a forensic analysis and really a financial plan to meet the company's strategy. And I mean, to me, don't you wish most companies would do that on the front side and get that in place so there wasn't this surprise after the 3rd or 4th quarter and go, oops, we missed. So, I mean, they're very proactive. There's a lot of investment there, both in time, talent, and energies. They've got a great education and a great story. So without further ado, it's my great honor to introduce the founder and the CEO, Nick Romsevich, New Brew Coffee.
Hi, I'm Nick, founder and CEO of New Brew Coffee, and I have a confession. I used to be categorized as obese at 265 pounds. Just before my first child was born, I dedicated myself to losing weight and becoming the healthiest dad that I could be. I started exercising regularly and became very vigilant about everything that I consumed, including my morning coffee. That's when I started making cold brew as a healthier alternative to drip coffee and those shady energy drinks. Fast forward a few years and a couple of more kids, and there was no time in the morning for drip coffee or stopping by a local coffee shop. So I started putting my cold brew into a Nalgene bottle that I would take with me into work, zooming past those rarely cleaned Keurig machines and opening my laptop just as my morning meeting started. So what is New Brew? New Brew is ready-to-drink bottled coffee that's brewed for over 14 hours using cool Rocky Mountain water, which results in a coffee that's a lot less acidic than hot brewed coffee. You can drink it out of the bottle. You can pour it into a coffee mug and heat it up. New Brew is smoother, healthier, and easier on the stomach no matter which way you take your coffee. We say that we get the good stuff out of the coffee, the flavor, the caffeine, the antioxidants, and we leave behind a lot of the bad stuff, the acids, oils, and chemicals. That's why we think our coffee kicks acid. Let me introduce you to our team. Brendan Reimer and I have 5 college degrees between us, including 2 MBAs. Unfortunately, those 5 degrees aren't revenue drivers alone, but they've been the foundation for 2 successful careers that include 20 years of startup experience. Brendan was previously the VP of Ops at a small shipping company and was a co-owner of a financial management firm. My experience includes working for 5 medical device startups as an engineer and a project manager. Let me introduce you to our plan. People always ask, why did I leave behind a successful career as a medical device engineer to start a coffee company? Well, I chose the best opportunity that I could find. By a show of hands, please raise your hand if you drink caffeinated beverages, such as coffee, tea, energy drinks, soda, Diet Coke. Take a quick look around. Those are all potential customers. Phase 2 is execution. Brendan and I got this covered. After getting on the shelves of Whole Foods late last summer, we've sold tens of thousands of dollars worth of product. And phase 3 is our triple bottom line. As a registered Colorado public benefit corporation, we care about profit, people, and the planet. Along those lines, within the next 2 years, we'll become a certified B Corp. New Brew appeals to many people always ask, how are we going to compete with Starbucks? Well, we're going to kick them in the acid. We've compared New Brew to Starbucks, and ounce for ounce, New Brew is 80% less acidic and has 50% more caffeine than Starbucks does. We're going to grind up the coffee competition, just like craft beer disrupted the beer market. New Brew appeals to many market segments, including people with digestion issues, diabetics, athletes, people on the go, students, anybody who likes the good stuff in coffee and a lot less of the bad stuff. Here are some shout outs to New Brew on Twitter. Matt Russell is a professional triathlete who downs a bottle of New Brew before his morning training sessions. And then we have Green Plate Kate. She's a food blogger and a busy mother of 2 who loves the portability of New Brew. And then we have our friend Sean. Sean's a hipster, and he knows what's hip. Let's talk about our track record of kicking acid. In a little under a year, we've sold to upwards of 30 front-range stores, including several Whole Foods markets, Natural Grocers by Vitamin Cottage, and Lucky's markets. Also, we were placed in a pre-party gift bag at the Oscars and subsequently featured on Fox 31, ABC 7, the Boulder Daily Camera, and in the Denver Business Journal. Later this month, we have a meeting with Albertsons, and they're very excited about carrying New Brew. Also, we're in negotiations with the primary national distributor to Whole Foods. We're seeking a seed round of funding to fuel our rapid growth and for working capital to grow our inventory. Now, I know that I come off as a little intense, and we are. We make caffeinated beverages, after all. We got this. Let's go kick some acid. Hi-ya!
So one sort of naive question, you explain the health benefits and you list several things, but I don't understand that. So explain to me why this is healthier than brewing my own coffee and how that works scientifically.
Yeah, so when you make hot brewed coffee, you activate a lot of those acids, oils, and chemicals. It's a real quick way of getting your coffee, but you're using 200-degree Fahrenheit water. So that's a lot of energy, and it's energizing a lot of those acids, oils, and chemicals. Cold brewing uses cool water in a time-based process, so it's really good at extracting the caffeine, the antioxidants, and the flavor. And the benefit to the consumer is, you probably tasted, it's smoother because it's less acidic.
Makes sense.
So I don't know a lot about beer. I also don't know a lot about coffee. And so, my question is really, how are you going to convert the unfaithful? So I think about my dad, who does love coffee, and he drinks coffee from a very specific region of Kenya. Has drank the same brand of coffee for like 20 years. And he really can't shake that. I imagine this is true for a lot of people who are passionate about coffee, is they're very loyal to a particular brand. And when you introduce the idea of cold coffee, that's very different from sort of the traditional coffee that people drink. I imagine you will encounter resistance. Obviously, you're selling a Whole Foods and stuff, which is fantastic. So, but I'm just curious what kind of innovative marketing strategy you will use to help people understand that this is a better alternative.
Right. So if we go to the differentiator slide. So let me line this up. Coffee fanatics or coffee aficionados is just one subset of our marketing segment. We're viewing this as a trustworthy source of caffeine. So it's a great energy drink. That's why our branding has a little bit of edginess to it, so that we can advertise to students and people that drink the energy drinks but don't know what taurine is and you know, think that it tastes really chemically. So you know, we're trying to get the best of both worlds there. And because it is smoother, we think we can go after those coffee aficionados that are educated about the category of cold brew, and they'll appreciate the rich, smooth flavor of it.
You know, first I wanted to compliment you guys. I really like the trademarks and the effort that's been put into the branding. It looks fantastic. And it also occurs to me that your story is very similar, it seems, to like the story of Celestial Seasonings. And you know, there's a lot of companies from this area that have been either focused on drinks or in the, you know, even in the, I guess, the restaurant industry. But you know, I'm curious if you've connected with others in this area that have had similar sorts of storylines, or you know, can help mentor that process, because you know, it strikes me that your narrative right now is very similar to a lot of others in the same region.
Yeah, and I'm a mechanical engineer, so I'm way out past my depth. But I saw a great opportunity here, and some of the models that we were following after are Izzy Soda, Bhakti Chai, you know, other beverage producers, Celestial Seasonings, and we saw that they could disrupt the market essentially, and you know, come out with you know, a new soda. You know, who would have thought about a new soda?
Well, and I guess, you know, from my, so I used to live in Boulder, but now I'm in Denver, and in Denver, like I think there's a difference, and like you know, I was asking people around the table earlier, you know, what's the big deal about no acid? And so it may just be that I'm, you know, naive enough to not really know or get that. I drink coffee all the time, but there may be this educational difference that once you step out of the, you know, the Boulder green space, that becomes harder to kind of market. And I'm curious if others have had those similar sorts of issues in trying to, you know, express the difference and the differentiator for your product.
And just a response to that, we actually welcome Starbucks into the market, the category of cold brew, because half the battle is educating people about cold brew, and then half of the battle is educating people about our brand. So again, very analogous to craft beer, you know, Coors, Molson, whoever leading the way, and then people are like, oh, there's better options out there.
Okay, thanks.
It shouldn't be this flippant, but I have this notion that you'll amp them up, and then tenor can actually help us, you know, get more in touch with where that anxiety is going. I think it's a good business partnership, just if you're looking for ideas. But in all seriousness, honestly, I agree with all the comments that everyone's made. But what strikes me is that you are pushing on Boulder up the hill. How do you get to operational scale? How do you actually create intrinsic value out of this business? Do you have ideas around how you're going to manufacture such that you are at some point cash flow positive and are sustaining yourself?
Yeah, actually, our margins are in the black right now, and we're buying retail raw materials. So we haven't done any cost engineering at all. Thanks to my background as an engineer, I've made this process scalable and repeatable. So I'm very confident that you know, we can move forward and increase production. The big question is, do you make it yourself or do you go to a co-packer? Either way, I'm comfortable because I'm going to be able to transfer this knowledge to a co-packer, and I've made the process kind of, you know, stupid simple. It's just a turnkey process. But there's a lot of trade secrets baked into it with our ratios, how we treat water, how we treat the coffee grounds. So we are protective of that, very similar to how Coca-Cola would be with their trade secrets. But we are bolstering our intellectual property stance with our branding, our slogans, our logo, et cetera.
All right, and introducing our final pitch of the night is Seth Murray.
So entrepreneurship and innovation can really make a positive impact on the world. We create this business leverage and profits that can have an impact on environment and society. And I'm a professor here at CU of engineering management, entrepreneurship, and invention. And I'm really happy to introduce this team. They've done a really great job using the academics of entrepreneurship here at CU, a great example of just how CU entrepreneurship is thriving. 3 semesters ago, Adam from this Blue Star Medical team, he was in my invention and innovation course, and he and a really strong team put together prototypes that you'll hear about to basically make a cold cap to prevent hair loss in chemotherapy treatment. And it originally came, the student Riley, he had his mom underwent chemotherapy and had a really inadequate product that was a penguin cap, and it just didn't work very well. And that was a strong team that came together 3 semesters ago to make prototypes and progress that. So I have a lot of faith in their engineering. It's ongoing too. This semester I have Thomas Reitmeyer, who's in my course, and he's making a testing fixture to test the caps. And then the other thing, they all came together for this team, Miley and Adam and Thomas. They were in a entrepreneurship business plan course that was a partnership between the business school and engineering. So it's great to see them use the academic resources we have here to progress entrepreneurship, and then the non-academic resources like this new venture challenge and Spark and just the many other great things in this community. So it's hard to be up here. I'm standing here in the spotlight, and it's like, and this is what I do for my job, is I come up and talk about entrepreneurship and love it. And I just really want to congratulate, everybody here and all the teams, and just particularly Miley and Adam for being here and progressing this important business along. So I'll let you take it from here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Millie Young.
I'm Adam Gold.
And we are Blue Star Medical Devices. And we are changing the face of cancer with a product that mitigates hair loss in chemotherapy patients. Each year in the US, 650,000 patients undergo chemotherapy. And according to the Mayo Clinic, both men and women report hair loss as one of the side effects that they fear most after being diagnosed with cancer. This is a problem. This is the culture of cancer in our society. We associate hair loss with cancer, and we associate cancer with death. But what if we could allow chemotherapy patients to keep their hair? How would this change their quality of life as they go through such a terrifying, traumatic experience? My aunt was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 36. And she would tell me that the hardest part about living with the disease was not the physical pain. It was waking up each morning and looking at herself in the mirror and seeing death stare back at her her lack of hair a constant reminder that she might not live to see her 4- and 6-year-olds grow up. And it's for cases such as this that we are changing the way patients undergo chemotherapy. We're mitigating that terrifying side effect of hair loss. Our solution gives patients a sense of normalcy and control in an otherwise uncontrollable process. A level of discretion when revealing the disease to family members, friends, and strangers. An increased sense of hope and confidence and power to fight the disease and move on with their life. Our cap is worn 30 minutes before, during, and 2 to 4 hours after a chemotherapy infusion. The cooling of the scalp inhibiting the uptake of the chemotherapy drug into the hair follicle, giving patients the chance to keep their hair. Through our extensive market research of current chemotherapy patients, past cold cap users and clinicians, we've identified that current solutions are lacking in mobility, ease of use, and comfort. That's where Blue Star is revolutionizing the scalp cooling market. With electronic temperature regulation for increased comfort, maximum portability, and a high-tech user interface, we're making this technology available to all chemotherapy patients. Initially, we're aiming for dual entry into the US and European market with a regulatory pathway for an FDA 510K and a CE mark in Europe. And according to the Center for Disease Control, 650 patients in the US and 1.4 million patients in Europe undergo chemotherapy each year, giving us a market of approximately $3 billion. We have an exceptionally able team. CTO Adam Gold, our assistant CTO Thomas Reitmeyer, and myself have passion, drive, dedication, and complementary skills in business development and engineering. Our advisor, Michael Cannon, is a veteran medical device CEO who has seen multiple successful startups from incorporation to acquisition. We have overwhelming support from CU Denver Oncology Clinic, whose doors are open for us to begin patient trials this summer. We also have overwhelming supportive partnership with the Rapunzel Project, who will be a key player for our marketing here in the US. We're looking for a seed round of $275,000 to file for a patent, make iterations to our prototype, and continue on our regulatory pathway. This product is for mothers who don't want to see the frightened look in their children's eyes as they begin to lose their hair. It's for the woman who's just had a double mastectomy and wants to feel beautiful again. It's for the man or woman who wants to feel confident in the boardroom or walking down the street to buy a liter of milk. So if you've ever known or know someone close to you undergoing chemotherapy, then you'll understand the importance of developing this technology and bringing normalcy and confidence into the lives of millions of men and women as they undergo one of the most frightening times in their lives. Thank you.
Million Animals, wonderful work that you guys are doing, and I'm really touched by the thoughtfulness of looking after what I think is a really overlooked part of the experience of having cancer, so kudos to you for that. My question centers around distribution. So just one clarification on the main question after that. Are you distributing directly to consumers or to hospitals?
Originally, we were shooting directly at consumers, but if we want insurance reimbursement, we've now switched to go straight distribution to hospitals.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So the insurance reimbursement. So I don't know much about how hospitals make decisions about how to allocate limited resources. Imagine that cancer treatment is expensive and time-consuming. How does this stack up in the sort of set of priorities that a hospital has to consider when they decide what technologies, what sorts of interventions they want to purchase and acquire to deliver to the patients that they're treating?
Right, great question. So chemotherapy currently costs per patient. One chemotherapy session is in the order of tens of thousands of dollars. So our cap is a small drop in that ocean. And products from Europe are currently undergoing FDA trials in numerous clinics across the states. And we're seeing a huge increase in awareness and adoption from many clinics across the country. So we're hoping that the effects, the quality of life effects that our cap will have is an incentive for hospitals to bring this in and make it available to all chemotherapy patients.
Thank you. So I have to say it's a harebrained idea, but I love it. And from the bald guy, I have to say that. So I'm curious about the trials. How long does it take to do or complete your randomized, I'm assuming it's randomized controlled trials?
Right. So as I mentioned, we are going to be working with Clinipace, which is a CRO here. They have an office here in Boulder, and targeting both European and American markets. The FDA requires efficacy and safety tests, whereas the CE mark really just requires safety tests. The length of these clinical trials really depends, and the cost really depends on the capacity of our trials. At the moment, it's somewhat uncertain because a 510K approval, we may have to undergo clinical trials, but we may not, depending on how the predicate devices move through those trials. But we're looking at around a year and around 1 to 2 million.
Okay, thank you.
During for this question, I think that it's an incredibly meaningful and as well as needed enhancement. So congratulations on even pursuing this. My question goes to your business plan around contribution for return on your investment. How much are you assuming will come from insurance reimbursement, and how much are you assuming the consumer will pick up directly?
It's still kind of up in the air. We're working on trying to determine what that model will look like, and I think a big part of that will be to look at what our competitors do, because they're currently going through the FDA now. We have 2 Penguin caps and Dignitana, and they'll be helpful for us to kind of lead the way, and that's part of the reason actually Dignitana's trials have been switched from a more difficult to a way less difficult 510K process. And so we're becoming more and more hopeful about our own track through the FDA and finding reimbursement for insurance.
Got it. Thank you.
Further to that, we are hoping to target our cost at the reimbursement rate, so nothing is borne by the consumer, but we're going to have to reassess and see how that ties in with production costs.
So with all great products, there has to be some differentiation from the competition. Could you speak a little bit about the competition and specifically efficacy, or what you're shooting for besides the convenience and the other things that you mentioned previously?
Certainly. I'll let
Yeah,
you.
so our competitors, for us it wasn't really a question of the efficacy of the concept itself of using a cold cap. What our competitors have seen is around 80% effectiveness on a per person basis, which is huge. But on the one side we have Penguin cold caps, which we would call kind of a passive cooling device, where it's frozen initially using dry ice or a cryo freezer in the hospital. And then it's just kind of an ice pack that's folded, and it's got Velcro that kind of lets you, put it on. You can see the shape of it. Those are actually flipped.
So for an infusion session, a patient would need around 5 or 6 of these caps, which they're constantly changing every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And when we spoke to a number of clinicians, one of the major reasons that patients weren't using scalp cooling therapy with the Penguin cap is because they didn't have anyone, a loved one or a nurse, who could actually help them change the caps.
So you could expect compliance to double or even more.
Exactly. Yeah. And the problem with the DigniCap is that it's a large refrigerant that sits next to a patient's chair in a clinic, using up valuable space in the infusion center for 2 to 4 hours after the actual infusion. whereas our cap has compatibility with conventional power supply, 12-volt vehicle outlet, so you can take it home, wear it in the comfort of your own home before and after the session.
Awesome.
All right, well, at this point, we'll give our judges a little bit of time to deliberate.
Should we take our mics with us?
I have a couple more announcements to make while the judges do deliberate. So if you could please, if you're sticking around, stay in your seats. The event is still going on. Please, yeah. All right, so a few more announcements tonight, like I was just saying. Once again, please give all of our participants a huge round of applause. I think it's worth noting, especially for those who are new to the NVC in the audience tonight, that of these 5 teams, 3 of them pitched at pitch night in October, and 2 I unfortunately had to waitlist. So they've been in this year-long arc in the entire program, and so I think that just speaks to the testament of, number one, their willingness to continue the entrepreneurial journey, but also the great platform of resources that the New Venture Challenge is. As many of you in the audience know, Brad Bernthal, the NVC's godfather, took an academic sabbatical earlier this spring. And in his absence, Christine Ekman has filled in as the NVC7 chair and done a stellar job. Not only has she continued in her role as one of our top mentors, but she judged multiple semifinals competitions and provided me with valuable guidance and advice in running this big bit of machinery called the NVC. After a long year running the program, I'm certainly proud to call her a good friend, and tonight she'll be presenting the annual awards, so please help me welcome Christine Ekman.
Thank you, Andy, and thanks to everyone both that has participated in the NVC as a competitor and as a mentor and supporter of the program. I'm going to violate Rule 1 of the NVC that you shouldn't be reading what you're presenting because I need to read for everybody to be recognized properly. So first of all, I'd like to mention that mentors make the NVC possible and are critical pillars of this particular program. The NVC currently boasts over 70 fantastic mentors who are available to guide participants through a multitude of tasks, from financial projections to PowerPoint presentations to the art of presenting and to just about anything else that goes into starting a business, including referring to other mentors who are better qualified. With such a great roster of community members, it makes selecting the recipient of this award extremely difficult. This year, we'd like to recognize Keith Mountain. Keith has been involved with the program for several years as a mentor, and his expertise was on display this year in his involvement with one of tonight's finalists, Tenor, and he certainly helped the team to reach its current heights. Keith embodies the bolder give first attitude that Phil referred to. When we contacted him about this award, he immediately thought that others were more deserving. We disagree, at least for this year. It's my pleasure to award this year's Mentor of the Year award to Keith Mountain. Next is the Fletcher Richmond Award presentation. Fletcher Richmond graduated from CU last year and has quickly become a legend in the CU entrepreneurial community. He has been a multi-time NVC competitor. I met Fletcher the very first year he was in the NVC and have worked with him ever since. He's been an integral in getting the student co-working space Spark Boulder off the ground, and his unbounded networking ability has led some people to call him the most scalable man in Boulder. All of these qualities have inspired us to create an award in his name for the student who has gone above and beyond in supporting the entrepreneurial initiatives on campus. Please congratulate this year's winner, Jamie Finney. Jamie embodies many of the same attributes that made Fletcher such an important contributor. In addition to being a huge supporter of the NVC, Jamie is currently the program director of Startup Summer. He helped bring TEDx CU to Boulder, and if any of you haven't attended the TEDx at CU Boulder, please look for that and mark it on your calendar. It's fantastic. And he's the assistant director at Spark Boulder. Above all else, Jamie's become known as the never say no attitude, known for his never say no attitude when it comes to supporting entrepreneurship at the CU campus. It's my pleasure to award Jamie the Fletcher Richmond Award. Next, I'd like to say a couple words about Andy Evans this year. He's out of the room, I think, right now, but I wanted to recognize Andy as the 2015 director of the CU New Venture Challenge. Andy has shown the 5 qualities of a successful startup CEO in this process. The first is hope is not a strategy. You have to plan, meet, and then plan some more to pull together a successful NVC. This is for you, Andy. I would guess that Andy has had over 100 meetings to pull together this wonderful evening. Number 2, successful CEOs do not inspire litigation. Andy's background in law is clearly rooted in doing things the right way the first time, and those attributes have continued with our partnership with the CU Office of Technology this year, of the Technology Transfer Office, and was a great example of leadership that's intended to avoid future litigation. Number 3, they always welcome advice. Andy was always asking for advice from Boulder's many thought leaders, and then he checked with Brad Barenthal just to make sure he was on the right path. Number 4, they test. Andy encouraged every team to participate in the lean startup methodology this year and is constantly encouraging the teams to test their assumptions and pivot when necessary. And number 5, they execute. From team formation, mentor matching, workshops, and the semifinals, this NVC has been a great experience for all of us who have participated. What can I say? The evening speaks for itself, and it's the culmination of wonderful leadership on the part of Andy Evans. So give him a big hand. I'm sure he'll watch this later. Been asked to stop. Now to do something entertaining. I guess I can talk a little bit about the CU entrepreneurship in general. I've participated in this program since the very initial year. Brad Barenthal met with me and told me he just needed me to volunteer for a couple hours. And it's turned out to be a year after year experience that always involves many more hours of working with the students. My participation at CU is always around doing things that involve working with the students. I just get a lot more pleasure out of being up at CU and doing one-on-one work with individual students, whether it be with the ITP students or with the entrepreneurial program or with Atlas or wherever I'm asked to participate. Brad has done a fantastic job not only of building this program into a launching pad for several companies, but also for being able to incorporate the entrepreneurial business community back into the student group. And that's a very difficult thing to do. You have so many people that come up to you and say, how can I help? What can I do? And very often the answer is, quite frankly, write a check is usually the university's answer, because money is so important and it drives so many of the programs at CU. But this particular program offers everybody the opportunity to work one-on-one with companies as a mentor, and that's incredibly valuable going forward. I know that the people that I work with at the NVC will later become people that I'm incredibly proud to say I knew them when. So I would encourage all of you that have been mentors to continue to be mentors. All of you that have thought about becoming a mentor and didn't know if you had the time. Sometimes it's just a matter of making phone calls or, like I said, referring them to someone that you know that would be a great resource for them. And as you graduate for this program, just the things that you have learned along the way will make you a valuable mentor in years going forward. So if you can't do that at CU, find a program in the community that you're at to volunteer and be a mentor. It's always very, very rewarding, and almost more rewarding than being an entrepreneur yourself after my last 3 years in entrepreneurship. So I would encourage that. You think that was enough selling? Sorry if that was really boring. So that's the public service announcement. The last award today, but by far and away not the least, is the Frank Moyes Award presentation. If there's someone whose name is more synonymous with entrepreneurship at CU than Frank Moyes, I couldn't name that person. Through his role as an instructor, a mentor, and a general leader, Frank helped push entrepreneur on campus to the next level. Among other things, he helped to found the New Venture Challenge, which, as you know, is celebrating its 7th year tonight. Frank Moyes Award recognizes the individual who epitomizes Frank's ability to inspire, cultivate, and help grow entrepreneurship on campus. This year's award recipient is Ashley Tillman. Ashley? Ashley is known to most of us in the room for her sparkling personality and boundless energy. These two characteristics were on full display. Where was I at? Gosh, this is not easy to do on a phone. These two characteristics were on full display as a track leader and major supporter of the past 2 NVC challenges. In addition to this, Ashley helps lead the Deming Center for Entrepreneurship at the Leeds School of Business. She ran the regional clean energy competition, and she directs CU Catalyze on the Campus Accelerator for students. And in her spare time is the youth director for TEDx Mile High. Have I mentioned go to that TEDx conference? It's my pleasure to award this year's Frank Moyes Award to Ashley Tillman.
And then Andy said it'd be okay to take a second just to announce exactly 1 year ago, Doug Smith, the Dean of Engineering, Fletcher and I were up here launching Catalyze CU, and applications are now open for this year's Catalyze class. They're due May 4th, and so Catalyze is an equity-free grant accelerator. We'll take 6 to 8 teams, and they'll get co-working space in Idea Forge, which is a pretty phenomenal space, and then access to mentorship and coursework through a partnership between engineering and the Leeds School of Business in Spark Boulder. So did I miss anything, Doug? Oh, the website, thank you. It's just catalyzecu.com, and we'll send that out to everyone afterwards. So,
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we're just going to have everybody stay seated. Judges should be out here shortly. Thank you.
And take the trip. Though there may be wet road ahead, and you cannot slip. Just move on up. From peace to fire. Into the street. Where there's someone can. So hush not, child. And don't cry. Your folks might understand you by and by. Move on up and keep on wishing. Remember your dream, your only scheme. So keep on pushing. Take nothing less than the supreme best. Do not obey, do as Just move on up. Move on up. Move on up. Watch out, but just move on up. Move on up.
All right. The judges have reached a verdict. Tim Miller, to my left here, is going to introduce the winners for the evening. He's going to start with our runners-up. Teams, as he introduces you, please come on stage.
I would much rather be working for any one of these companies than standing up and talking about these companies. This was wonderful. I really appreciate all the energy, enthusiasm. Believe it or not, this was a very tough decision, but we took an extra few minutes because I was supposed to come up with something funny to talk about in Blue Star, and I could not come up with a joke because it's just not a funny joke. Anyway, see? Now, let me talk about the two runners-up first. We used a rigorous method to evaluate on 5 or 6 different criteria. The two that are runners-up are tenor. Congratulations. And Antigua. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Awesome. So, in position number 3, we selected Blue Star. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Number 2, New Brew. Congratulations. You already know who won. Revelar.
We'll give a little photo op up here, huh? 5-second pose for those with the benefit of flash photography. All right, well, again, thank you to the competitors this year. It's been an amazing year. I don't know if anybody saw, but Forbes magazine had CU Boulder in the top 20 of most entrepreneurial universities. And after tonight, I'm pretty sure we're going to be moving up on that list. So take a moment to see our demo fest outside, say hello to some of those entrepreneurs, and definitely talk to some of these entrepreneurs. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. On time.
Can we make it?
I'm a stickler for time. Yeah, well, no, we're doing great. Actually, we're right.